In horror, it's not always just the victims that are put through the ringer. A lot of the time, the villains themselves are met with some terrible pushback. Stuff that really should have killed them, but by horror law, somehow didn't. I'm Ellie with What Culture, here with the 10 craziest things horror movie villains have survived. Number 10. Freddy Krueger, a beating from Jason Voorhees. As final girl Nancy learned all the way back in Wes Craven's original A Nightmare on Elm Street, the best way to beat Freddy Krueger, if only temporarily, is to drag him kicking and screaming into our world. It's a tactic that Laurie Campbell and her friends quickly cotton onto in 2003's crossover movie Freddy vs. Jason. And what better way to kill the dream demon than by setting him up against someone or something even bigger and badder? Whether Jason Voorhees might be badder is debatable, but they certainly don't come much bigger. Despite a spirited defense, Freddy doesn't stand a chance against Jason in the real world. As the pair go at it, Freddy is literally disarmed, Jason lopping off his glove-wielding arm and then stabbing him with it, and is ultimately beheaded by his enemy. Now you'd think this would be pretty sure to kill anyone, but not Freddy. The cheeky wink as the end credits roll tells us that he survived anyway. Number 9. Jason Voorhees, obliterated by an android. After being cryogenically frozen and then waking up in the distant future, Jason Voorhees immediately embarks upon another killing spree. Except this time, it's in space. While the high-tech weapons of the future don't really pose much of a threat to the unstoppable Jason, he is given pause when he crosses paths with Android KM, a sex bot with superior strength, speed and proficiency with futuristic firearms. Jason has taken his share of punishment over the course of Friday the 13th franchise, but no defeat was quite so definitive as this one. After being shredded to bits by KM, it finally looks like the end for Jason. The nanobots of the future, however, have other ideas. Jason is rebuilt and resurrected again, returning as Uber Jason, part Jason Voorhees, part Cyberman, and more relentless and ruthless than ever. Number 8. Michael Myers, Inferno. Like the best of the slasher icons, Michael the Shape Myers knows how to take a good kicking. You name it, he survived it. Shot, stabbed, beheaded, although that one wasn't really him. Shot again. Still, it looked like Michael Myers was toast for reals this time as the final act of 2018's Halloween wrapped up. Trapped by long-running nemesis Laurie Strode in her booby-trapped basement, Michael found himself locked in as the room filled with gas and became a flaming inferno. Bearing in mind that this franchise reset was a direct sequel to Carpenter's classic, this film depicted an altogether more human Michael Myers than previous sequels had shown. Michael's chances of escaping alive then looked pretty slim. This was quickly undone in Halloween Kills, which saw Michael inadvertently rescued by a team of firefighters who then found themselves on the wrong end of the Shape's fury. He'd taken another solid beating by the time Halloween Kills finished up, once again transforming into the quasi-supernatural figure that Green retconned away in 2018. Number 7. Chucky, shot, beheaded, and tortured. The last one standing of the great slasher icons, Charles Lee Ray, aka the diminutive Chucky, has been around for a long time. While Freddy, Jason, Michael and Leatherface have all been rebooted, remade and then rebooted again, Chucky remains the original article. After a whole franchise of being kicked from pillar to post by Andy Barclay and various others, Chucky made a revitalized return in 2017's Cult of Chucky. When he's had enough of terrorizing the unfortunate Nika, Chucky takes a second swipe at Andy, but what he doesn't expect is for Andy to be ready and waiting. Capturing his tiny tormentor, Andy proceeds to brutally torture the demon doll, keeping his beheaded but still alive noggin captive in screaming agony. But not even this could keep Chucky down, and Charles found a way to return by stealing Nika's body, thanks Voodoo, and spreading his essence across multiple good guy dolls. Number 6. John Kramer, brain cancer. Doomed long before embarking on a career as a pontificating horror monster, John Kramer reacted to his terminal cancer diagnosis by reinventing himself as the horrifying serial killer Jigsaw. For 3 movies, Jigsaw worked from the shadows, manipulating people into his death traps and collecting protégés. Kramer finally died in Saw 3, so thoroughly and definitively that the next film in the franchise opened with his autopsy, a grisly, harrowing sequence which spared no detail in assuring the audience that no, this guy's definitely dead. Even that wouldn't stop John Kramer from coming back in each and every sequel which followed, shoehorned into convoluted flashback after convoluted flashback. With neither the Saw franchise nor his protégés and imitators willing to let the man go, John Kramer has transcended the physical plane, living on through his ideas and his ideals. Number 5. The Evil Dead's Linda, chopped to bits. The only way to stop those possessed by spirits of the book is through the act of bodily dismemberment. And even then, nothing is guaranteed. So learns Ashley Williams and his friends taking a trip to a cozy little cabin in the woods in 1981's The Evil Dead. Uncovering an old recording and an even older spellbook in the basement, Ash and his chums accidentally unleash the forces of hell upon themselves, leading to the demonic possession of Ash's girlfriend, Linda. The basement recording informs Ash that only bodily dismemberment can stop a deadite in its tracks, but not even that can shut them up. After lopping off Linda's head and burying her in the woods, Ash is distraught to see Linda rise again in Evil Dead 2 to taunt the poor schmuck afresh. Ash traipses back to the woodshed all over again, only putting a stop to the deadite monster's ghastly cackling when he lays into her face with a chainsaw. Well, that's not groovy. Number 4. Victor Crowley in pretty much everything. When most long-running slasher franchises tend to hedge their bets regarding how supernatural their villain is or isn't, Adam Green went all in on the conceit fairly early in his Hatchet franchise. The spirit of an unfortunate curse victim killed by a hatchet to the face, Crowley returns on a nightly basis to haunt the swamps of Louisiana. Ghost, yes, but also dreadfully corporeal. Crowley seemed to have finally met his end in 2013's Hatchet 3, facing down longtime enemy Mary Beth Dunstan. Mary Beth flings her father's ashes at him, causing him to melt, and then utterly obliterates his remains with a gun. This would put Crowley down for a good 10 years, but the monster would rise once again in the sequel/series reset, aptly named Victor Crowley. Number 3. Pluto, mauled by a dog. The most memorable member of the Hills Have Eyes desert-dwelling mutant family, there was surely no question of Pluto not returning for a sequel. Unfortunately, the monster met a fairly definitive end in Wes Craven's 1977 cult classic, mauled to death by a German Shepherd. Pluto's death may not have been the most ostentatious fate a horror villain has ever experienced, but Craven did present the attack as being fairly definitive, with the good doggy beast tearing out Pluto's Achilles tendon and throat. Pluto's fate was retconned in the 1984 sequel, where it was revealed that he was patched up by a hitherto unseen sibling. While death by dog is a pretty low-key way to go, it's hard to imagine anyone but Pluto walking away from a vengeful German Shepherd and living to tell the tale. Number 2. Mick Taylor, impaled and left to burn. The demented killer of the Wolf Creek franchise, Mick Taylor, rose to fame in 2005's slasher film, torturing and terrorising his way across the Australian outback. Nigh untouchable as Taylor may have been in the film and its immediate sequel, the killer came unstuck in the first season of his television series. Choosing plucky teenager Eve as his latest victim, after killing Eve's family in typical Taylor style, he finds the tables turned when she comes after him seeking revenge. Having a whole season's worth of cat and mouse, Eve manages to get the drop on Mick, impaling him with a poker. Leaving him mortally wounded, she then burns the whole house down with him inside. Mick Taylor may be positioned as a more human threat than your average Freddy or Jason, but that didn't stop him from making a similar comeback to his slasher peers, returning for a further season of the TV series and a forthcoming trilogy-topping movie. Number 1. The Firefly Family, a bullet storm. The end seemed fairly nigh for the surviving Firefly clan, Otis, Baby and Captain Spaulding, as the end credits rolled on Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects. As the police finally catch up with the 3 mass murderers, the gang decide to go all out, all guns blazing. Speeding directly at a small army of armed police, the family ride into a storm of hot lead and, one would assume, instant death. Only not. It was revealed in 2019's 3 from Hell that Otis, Baby and Captain Spaulding actually survived their bullet riddling, and it was the law enforcement's plan to let them rot in prison for the rest of their lives. 3 from Hell is a passable sequel to one of horror's more memorable movies, but the survival of the Fireflies in the face of certain doom is utterly ludicrous. And that's everything for this list. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap that notification bell. Also head over to Twitter and follow us there, and I can be found across various social medias just by searching Ellie Littlechild. I've been Ellie with What Culture. I hope you have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon.